Call the meeting of the March 9th board meeting to order. If we knew all y'all was coming, we'd have got some more seats. At this time, Dylan is going to have a class for Pledge of Allegiance, so if y'all all stand. This time, I asked Preacher Tony Smith to have our prayer for us tonight.
Lord, we come humbly before you as I think about the words in Psalm 19 and 14. It says, "Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my strength and my redeemer." Lord, we're looking for you tonight to control us, to watch over us and protect us. But most of all, let this meeting flow with a fluency that you're in control of all situations. Lord, we know that each one of us has a voice and an opinion. Lord, may it be shared tomorrow. Lord, I thank you for the fact that these men and women have came out tonight. Lord, I pray that you just let this meeting be a blessing not only to them, but unto the ones that have prepared it. Lord, it's Miss Hill, Brother Nixon, and these trustees lead this school district. I pray that you continue to be with them, watch over them, protect them. But most of all, let everything be done for your glory and your glory only. And we thank you for your Son, Jesus Christ, that he gave his life for all our sins. In his name we pray. Amen.
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 Thank you, Tony. Well, at this time, need approval of the agenda. Do we have any corrections or additions? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion.
Make a motion.
Motion. Second. All in favor? 5-0. All right, at this time, we need to approve the minutes from our last board meeting.
Mr. Chairman, if we may, I think we need to make an adjustment here on the minutes.
Okay.
At the end of the minutes, right before we adjourned, Mr. Burdette motioned that last sentence needs to be moved up to before the upon returning to open session paragraph.
Putting that in the form of a motion.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Need a second. All in favor? 5-0. All right. This is the favorite part of the meeting, accommodations. We need a wheelbarrow to put all this up here.
I think Mary Beth is.
Oh, you gonna keep them? Okay, good. Good gracious.
All right. It is always exciting to see this number of people out, and I'll tell you, we're doing Iva Elementary first. So if you're in the hallway and a parent of an Iva Elementary person or student, y'all might want to come closer, because I want to make sure you get maximum exposure here. And so for Iva Elementary Robotics, we have Lily Seawright, Sportsmanship Award AIT competition. Is Lily here tonight? Okay. We have Lainey Ritchie, Sportsmanship Award AIT competition. Okay, we have Jackson Hudson, Sportsmanship Award AIT competition. We have Blair Strauss, Sportsmanship Award AIT competition. Okay, and we also have Jamie Cook, Sportsmanship Award AIT competition. Let's get a picture. Okay. Okay. Okay, now we're going, I think this is Star Elementary. Our Tiger Bots, Luke Eubanks. And let me tell, all of these are the same awards, so I'll read it once because it's kind of wordy, okay? Tiger Bots Core Value Award at Qualifier Tournament, Robot Design Award at Regional Tournament. Sophie McAllister. Draven Moore. Josie Mae White. Okay, all right. And Warden Taylor.
Like the hat.
You want to get the star group separate or together? Okay, okay. So now we have the VEX Stars from Star Elementary. The VEX Stars Judges Award at Qualifier Tournament, 6th overall in Skills Challenge. Connor Brown. Okay. Case Huff. Wyatt McAllister. Brinley Moore. Okay. Willow Pendleton. And Dylan Sanchez. Okay, we also have. Okay, just want to make sure. All right, we also want to recognize one of our sponsors, First Lego League State Championship Coach Mentor of the Year, Tanya Fowler.
Great job, great job.
You can tell Miss Fowler doesn't like to be called out for her picture. Okay, now we have Flat Rock Elementary. Okay. You want me to go ahead? Okay. They gave me Flat Rock certificates. All right. Here we go for board accommodations for the TOTS team 26263A Team Tigers VEX V5 Competition Create Award. Jack Gray. Griffin Smith. Bentley Smith. Audrey Kate Bolt. Chloe O'Barr. Jaren Wren. Okay, still at Star Ivy Team 29684A Tots, AIT Regional Tournament, fourth place overall, second in skills, Build Award, 2026 SC Vex IQ Robotics Competition Qualifier, Justin Norris. Savannah Sanders. Sophia Gallagher. Zayden Hatton. Brody Becker. James Landon Wages. Sarah Lowe Raudales. How'd I do with that one? Dallas. Okay. Joycelyn Hayes. Okay, now we're at Flat Rock. Flat Rock Tigresses, third place at VEX IQ State Competition, Innovate Award at VEX IQ State Competition, Build Award and Sportsmanship Award at AIT Competition. Emma Silvers. Abigail Elmore. Sky Brookshire. Adele Savka. Okay, still Flat Rock Tigers, team 2730B. Second place finish at VEX IQ State Championship. Judges Award at VEX IQ State Championship. Jace Kyle. Luke Burdette. Hayden Cullen. And with this group, I also recognize advisor of 2026 VEX IQ State Placing Teams, Team 2730A Flat Rock Tigresses, and Team 2730B Flat Rock Tigers, Lisa Bradford. Let me just say that our students love robotics, and you can tell they do a great job. There will be a test on all those numbers and acronyms that go with the awards. And I'll tell you, last night we had a community meeting at the middle school about the potential middle school, and after it was over, one of the students from Star who couldn't be here tonight, she came up and wanted to give input on how to design the robotics room. So I told her to see Miss Cape. Okay, but she was telling me what kind of robotics table needed to go in there. Yes. All right, now we're going to go to archery, which archery is one of our newest clubs, and we're doing phenomenal things with that. And so, Tigers Archery State Bullseye Qualifier, Madeline Wheatonton. Emmeline Gurley. Finn Botts. Liam Burdette. Ryder Stone. Rylan Wheatington. William Moheran. Jackson Fowler. And Ava Ware. All right, at this time, we would also like to recognize our bus driver of the month. And Ms. Dodd says this about Anna Robinson. I would like to nominate Anna Robinson as bus driver of the month. Anna has given us so many years of dedicated service, and she truly loves our students. She has filled in many different roles throughout our school district, and with each role, she gives 110% because she cares about our students, their safety, and their well-being. Anna never hesitates to do the next right thing. Congratulations to our February Bus Driver of the Month, Anna Robinson. Okay, we have one other recognition tonight, and it's a special recognition for one of our board members, Mr. Trip Baltnight. He has earned the highest level that you can earn in the South Carolina School Boards Association Boardmanship Institute, and that's level 6, okay? Level 6 requires 300 points based on different trainings and conferences and things you can attend. You also have to have had the level 5 recognition for 1 year, and here's the kicker, you have to pass an online test. And Mr. Baltnight passed the online test.
One over.
So we are very proud of him. This is a very distinguished award, and he was recognized at the annual conference a couple weeks ago, but we wanted to make sure we recognized him at home too. So Mr. Baltnight, congratulations on level 6. And I would just like to say a special thank you to y'all for coming out. It's just says a whole lot about you as parents and grandparents and teachers and staff and administrators, for you to come out tonight and let us honor your children. So we appreciate everything you do for them, and you're just such a vital part of their success and our success in Anderson 3. So thank you for coming. You are welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting if you would like, but if not, this would be an appropriate time for you to exit.
That we've ever done.
That's right.
Yeah.
Our
it really
students do
is.
love robotics.
At this time, Mr. Moore, we'll turn it over to you for financial reports.
All right, thank you, sir. I'll get us started with taking a look at our general fund performance through the end of February. If you would click to that slide for me. So through the end of February, our revenues exceeded our expenditures by $2,669,627. So past couple months, we've seen a bit of fluctuation due to the property tax revenues coming in, but we finally settled back in about where we expect to be and where we've been throughout the year up until the big wave of property taxes coming in. So we feel good about where we're at. As a whole, our revenue is about 1% behind last year, so we feel pretty good about that. A lot of that lags primarily due to the big spike in enrollment we saw last year at the 45-day enrollment and the big adjustment we saw there. Otherwise, feel really good about our revenues and where those stand. And then expenditures as a whole, very similar to last year, within a quarter of percent of where we were as a whole there from a spending standpoint. So we feel good about where we stand in the general fund. Would you mind going to the green and blue bar chart, Logan? Thank you, sir. So, I know we talked a lot about the property tax revenue, just kind of put it in front of you again. It looks like our real property taxes which is classified at the county level as current, so I have it there as current, so we're on track to exceed our budgeted revenue by about $375,000 to $400,000 when all is said and done. So that aligns with our assessment reports that we've been keeping you updated on, that we receive from the county each month. So feel good about that. Our vehicle taxes, we're only about halfway through the year, but it's very comparable from a percentage of budget standpoint, about halfway through 50.37% of that budget. Feel pretty good about where that's trending. We still got a ways to go, but last year's actual collections exceeded our current year's budgeted revenue, so we feel good about the path we're on there. So really, as a property tax outlook as a whole, still with several months to go, feel pretty good about where we're trending there. On the state aid to classrooms, I know that's a big budget line item I'd like to keep you updated on. No real change there, but just to reiterate from last month after the 45-day update, our allocation is currently sitting at about $170,000 above what we budgeted on the revenue line item. We still have one final hurdle to clear, and that's going to be our 135th day update, which will be our final enrollment update for the year. And for us, our 135th day is this Wednesday, March 11th. So we'll have a lot better outlook on where our final numbers settle out. We won't have the state numbers to kind of factor that into the calculation, but we'll have at least a good idea as far as where we expect to end up for the fiscal year and how that'll affect our funding in the general fund. With that, any questions on the general fund from the board? Yes, sir.
Good question. And I may be reading this wrong. On the purchase services for this year, what's driving the increase over the last couple of years?
So, would you mind going to that second graph? One more, that one. All right, so we've got some increase in costs there. A lot of it, this from the 24-25 to the 25-26 year, in dollars, from a dollar perspective, a big change there is our transition from doing our substitute services in-house, from contracting those out, from letting the company ESS handle that. So that was a big chunk. That was a reclassification of having that going from our salaries and benefits budgets over to purchase services, just by a different method of providing those services. Another big driver of that is we changed in the approach how we handled some of our special education costs. During the budget season, if you recall, we switched some salaries and benefits costs and some budgeted FTEs with some contracted services we had previously funded with our federal IDEA fund, and transitioned those costs to the general fund. So that's another thing that caused a spike there. That was, if I'm not mistaken, that was to the tune of about $190,000 there. So each of them were about the same amount combined, about $370,000, I think, between those two things were just right there. And then I know we spent a lot of times talking about those instructional software purchases. Those all happen at once at the beginning of the year. So that's something that's not going to be month-to-month building. That's all done at the beginning of the year. So that was another larger cost in that category. Yes, sir.
So it's costing us how much more than building ourselves to have substitutes?
Right now, the cost, it really is not seem to be more so on the cost per substitute by day, but it is costing us more because we're having better coverage. That's something that we're finding out, that this company, having a third-party company that's solely dedicated to doing that, is doing a much better job of getting coverage, having the ability to schedule out coverage a little more easily, having the app at their disposal allows the subs to sign up for advance. So we've made a lot of advancements in this switch as well. Now, the downside is it has come with a little bit of an increased cost, but we feel like the service we're getting from our substitutes as far as a coverage perspective is improved.
Are you saying that we weren't able to secure subs before, this company is able to do that now, which means we're having more subs?
I would say we're having a better coverage rate, and they provided some statistics to us at a mid-year evaluation, and we had someone with some experience in the school level and kind of reiterated that those coverage levels are much better than what we had seen prior. So we didn't really have a great way to track it when we were doing it in-house as good as these folks can do it a little bit better with some of the tools they have at their disposal.
When you say coverage level, can you tell me what that means? Like, kind of expand on that a little bit. I want to make sure.
Basically, and fewer unfilled absence, like whenever there's an absence and we don't have someone to in place for a teacher who's out for that day. I guess it's in its simplest terms is what I'm referring to.
They're able to find more subs to come in as to where we were not able to secure.
I believe so, and then them having a presence in nearby districts allow us to share subs with other districts, folks who are already in the system with them. That's another notch in the tool belt. That's helped for sure.
So is this attracting certified personnel to come back and sub, maybe retirees or?
We've had a few, and that's helped them out too. So, and then one of the big things from the subs perspective too, in addition to allowing retirees to come back, is with our manpower, we were having to pay those folks once a month. This company has the ability to pay the subs weekly, so that's an added benefit for our subs. So we felt like there's a lot of things that made it the right decision to go in that direction. So, but yes.
County districts doing it.
Not all of them, but I know Anderson 5 is, and if I'm not mistaken, Anderson 2 might be. I have to verify that for you, to be completely honest.
Nope.
All right. Unfortunately, we have not yet received our February sales tax report, so we will have to provide that update for you next month. But again, we expect that to be the biggest one of the year. It typically is that does reflect our December spending. So we'll have that information for you next month for sure. But unfortunately, we do not have that information at this time. So with that, I'll transition to our budget update. If you don't mind loading. So keep going. There we go. All right. So really, there's not a ton that has changed from last month to this month. But we do. So I'll give you a kind of overarching things of what's kind of transpired at the state level and how it may impact us. But as far as quantifying things like that, we don't have a lot of new information from that standpoint. And I'll touch on each of those things and when we can expect to have that information. So just kind of update the state budget timeline. Last month, we didn't have those exact dates for the Senate portion of the state budget process, but we got those for you there. But since we last met, the House Ways and Means has passed their budget, and this week, they actually started today, the House has begun deliberating the budget and started voting on things there. So we're in the middle of that right now. So, and then early April, we'll hope to have Senate finances projected budget, and then full Senate debates that at the end of April, and then all the differences will get worked out in conference committee there in early to mid-May, and hopefully we will have a state budget sometime in late May. We certainly hope. But that's an updated timeline for you on the state budget process. So in the House Ways and Means budget, just wanted to lay out all the things that will impact us as a district. Not all of them will be impacts to the general fund, but will have an impact on Anderson 3 itself. The first one, the largest one, being the $150 million set aside in additional funds for the state aid to classrooms allocation. As we mentioned last month, that funding is set aside to increase the state minimum teacher pay from $48,500 to $50,500 for a new teacher. As a reminder, we are required to at least meet the state minimum. We're fortunate to be well above that, with our starting pay being at $52,000. So that funding is set aside for that. I know we've discussed about the state taking a hard look at that calculation itself and making some tweaks to it. The House Ways and Means made a few notable ones. The first one being they updated the hold harmless year to FY 25-26. What that means is no district will receive less money next year than what they will end up this year with. Up until now, I think the hold harmless year was like fiscal year 2021 or something like that, several years old. So if a district were to lose a lot of funding, there's a good bit they could fall. And that could be due to a decrease in enrollment, increase in index tax paying ability, things like that. So that's one thing that will affect us, because there are some districts that are impacted from that. So if the state has to allocate some funding to a district that has a big drop, but they're freezing them there, that's the extra money that's coming out of the pot that's got to go to this district, and then there's less to go around for everyone else. So that could impact us indirectly. Another change that the House has in their version is the removal of the additional CTE weighting. So in state aided classrooms, we have base student weights so we have a base student of 1.0, disability student of 2.6, and then CTE students, or your vocational students, of 1.2. So what they're doing, and then there's of course add-on weightings that get stacked on top of that. So the CTE weightings now is getting reverted back to a base of 1, and then that 0.2 difference is now getting reallocated to a separate line item, and I presume a state funded, a state fund, or state CTE fund that we receive. Statewide, that's about almost $82 million. So that's going to affect how that looks, and maybe some of the expenditures that we have in general fund now may need to get shifted to the state funds to reflect that change. Again, we don't have exactly how that's going to look for Anderson 3, but that will be a change for us. And then the last notable change in the state aid to classrooms that we discussed last year, the charter schools, they are factored into this funding formula. They receive the weightings that are tied to students, and then plus they get an additional add-on weighting based on whether they're brick and mortar or whether they're virtual. And so those weightings, because those are the ones that called the disparity of the proportion with the proportionate money that was added last year. So that money is going to get funded. It's just going to be taken out of the formula. They're going to have a standalone money for that. So that charter schools, they got more or less get taken off the top, and then the public schools get distributed from there. So that will affect just how the formula gets calculated itself. So that's another tweak that the House has made. So that's the biggest one. The next one, just in pure dollars, is the $75 million that got put in the House Ways and Means budget for rural and charter capital funding. This is one that's outside the general fund, but this is something that we would certainly qualify for. This is to help your districts that have high poverty and rural have limited tax base to help with capital funding for them. So we certainly feel like we could be a good candidate for that if that were to stay in the budget. That's, if you recall, at the beginning of the budget process, I mentioned the state superintendent requested $100 million. This is that line. It's just reduced to $75 million. There's additional $15 million for summer reading camps. That is additional funding to support the expansion of including first graders for our summer reading camps. That's primarily going to go to a state fund outside of the general fund, but we do have an allocation to help supplement that funding to operate our reading camp, so that there's a potential there that could minimize the burden of our general fund and support on the reading camp, with the state providing additional funding there. They have $20 million in school safety grant funding. That's been something that's been funded the past several years. It's been funding every year at the state level with non-recurring funding, but they do have that in place there again. We've been able to do a lot of good things at our schools with that money, so it looks like it's going to be there again for us. They have $5 million in the teacher strategic compensation pot. We recognize a few teachers from Star Island Middle School that were beneficiaries of that. They have that in there again. And of course, this in there for the current year. I think we're supposed to find out in April if we were able to get our schools awarded for that strategic compensation grant again. So, but right now that's in the 26-27 budget. Talked about the funding for the health insurance premium increase that the employer saw in 2026. The state has $33 million set aside for that. PEBA has come out in their budget request saying that there will be no employer or employee increases to health insurance premiums in 2027, so we feel good about that. So this is just the funding that will follow expenditures that we were budgeted for last year. And then the last one is the 2% state employee base pay increase, which initially sounds like it does not affect us, but the way the state budget's written, bus drivers get included in that. But that is on the state's minimum salary schedule for bus drivers. To kind of put in perspective the gap there, Anderson 3, we start our bus drivers off at $19.73 an hour. The statewide bus minimum salary schedule starts off at $11.88. So we always try to match the 2% on our schedule, but I tell you this, that there should be some funding that comes along with that raise, although it's minimal because of the low support at the state level. So, go to the next slide for me. And then other things going on in the state budget that are property tax related that'll have an impact on us. The one to put in front of you. First one being the House Budget 3858 for watercraft property taxes, or the boat bill as we know it. There's a lot of moving parts in that, but to drill it down, it's reducing that assessment. Boats being assessed at 10.5% down to 6%. That's getting a lot of support. It's been talked about the past couple of years, and it's got the feeling like this is going to be the year it's going to go through. A lot of the roadblocks in the past was the impact on folks like us that it would take. So they're phasing this in over a 3-year period as it stands. So as it pertains directly to Anderson 3, for the boats and boat motors that make up our assessment totals, over the course of 3 years, it'd be about $325 per meal, or $62,000 over the course of 3 years, so about $20,000 a year. But with the budgeted value meal that we have and we've talked about, takes this into account, so we feel like the number that we're at is still pretty conservative from that standpoint. And then the last one is the Senate Bill 768 for the homestead exemption. I know we discussed this, but this exempts the first $150,000 of fair market value of owner-occupied property for individuals 65 and older, totally and permanently disabled or legally blind. So this will be a net positive for our residents in our area and across the state. As far as how it impacts us, it will actually only impact us on our debt service side, because these properties, due to Act 388, don't pay any operating taxes for school districts. They would only contribute on the debt service side. But that is designed to be revenue neutral for the school district. It would just come, instead of ad valorem tax from the county, it would come as a reimbursement from the state level on the funding side on debt service. So it is not fully, but it's got strong support. It's on the Senate side, and then the House will have to review it, and then, if need be, conference committee settle it out. So everything in the budget still got a ways to go. Nothing's final till May, but it's got some strong support for sure. All right. And then these expenditures, we touched on these last month. Not a whole lot of change, and I mentioned earlier not a whole lot to quantify at this point in the game, but I did want to quantify what I could for you. Providing a step for our teachers district-wide is going to cost us about $185,000. That's a requirement for us. And these estimates, by the way, are based on our current staff, so we'll have a little bit of change once we start updating outgoing and incoming staff as well. And then providing a step for all other staff throughout the district outside of teachers would be $120,000 district-wide. And then to quantify a 2% bus driver increase on our schedule, it's about $20,000 for us on our schedule. And then as far as projecting our revenue, again, what we touched on last month, the budget factors that we're going to use, the average daily membership, projecting a reduction there, which ultimately rolls into that weighted pupil units, which drives our state-aided classrooms. About a 15 student reduction equates to roughly a 25 weighted pupil unit reduction. That'll provide us a little bit of cushion there in the state-aided classroom projections. I know we talked last month about a possibility of the state-aided classroom formula being frozen at the prior year's 135-day count. That is not in the House version. So right now we're still having to manage those projections and the possibility of them moving up and down mid-year. So still feel like we need to project conservatively there. That way, in the event of a reduction in enrollment, we're still in a pretty good spot. Our index of taxpaying ability number, it did change just a hair from our preliminary number to the final number. It was 0.219 as of last meeting, but since then we found out it came down to 0.218. Still, the change is negligible there, but an increase in the index of taxpaying ability reflects increased property tax values in our area, but decreases our state support that we receive by a little bit. And then I mentioned the value of a meal based on our assessment totals we've seen. We feel like a good conservative number, boat bill factored in, of $2,000 per meal is a good number to look at based on what we've seen on reports and the money actually coming in. We feel like that's a good conservative number to start with in this budget. And these are just trying to isolate all those changes there. Again, the exact same numbers that we showed you last month. Trying to isolate the index of taxpaying ability impact, the enrollment change reduction, and the reduction in enrollment, how that would impact us. That's on the current formula. So of course, once new factors get put in, new money gets put in, that could change a little bit. But that's the best projection we can provide at the time. And then the teacher increase funding, that's going to be the big number that drives a lot of this budget. And that's going to be interesting to see, especially how removing that additional CTE weighting and how that impacts us and everything that comes along with that. So but we expect to have that for you next month. Bus driver salary funding, I mentioned minimal funding probably come with that. We currently get $485,000 to help fund that, so I would expect maybe $10,000 to help with that 2% increase. And then the rest, the tier 3 money, that's that property tax relief that we get from the exemption for owner occupied residences. That reimbursement, that increase there has the same number there. And then our $2,000 per meal increase would budget increase would result in about $381,000 in additional revenue to budget with there. So as far as that teacher increase funding that is projection, we are scheduled to get that from the State Department this Wednesday. So very soon we should be able to better understand what we're truly working with that revenue and with what that $150 million and all those changes will result for us, and we'll be able to get all the factors that come with that and kind of project with some things. So don't have it now, but in the next couple of days we expect to have it and have a lot more drilled down information for you next month. So, and then just kind of to wrap it up with you, again, the funding is going to drive how much we're able to do, but want to kind of just a couple of bullet points that are priorities for us or focuses for us, things that are going to shape our budget going forward. One thing, the first one being special education support. We've seen an increase in those numbers across the district, and not only in the numbers, but also in some of the severity of the needs. So that's going to require us to look at things from a staffing and the contracted services standpoint, needing to meet those needs, and the cost of those contracted services steadily increasing as well, making sure we have a budget to accommodate those needs. Addressing the school needs, meeting with the schools, we felt like assuming we get the numbers we expect to get from the state, we feel like we can meet a lot of those needs that they have and can accommodate those. We certainly will aim to do so. A lot of those needs that we get kind of tied to the next bullet, which is our federal funding outlook. So we've mentioned Title I being a dwindling pot of money that our elementary schools heavily depend on, both for staffing and supplies in years past. That supply budget has gone down quite a bit. We just found out on this past Friday that the statewide Title I allocation is looking to decrease next year. Which of course will trickle down to Anderson 3 for sure. So we're going to have to take a look at ways we can make a more sustainable plan for that, for those continued decreases. And of course we have salaries in there, salaries going up, funding's going down. So that's going to impact us. Back in the fall, if you recall, during the government shutdown, there were a lot of threats of education funding going away at the federal level. Two of those being Title II and Title IV. For us, that's a little over $200,000. So at the time, they were telling us to not expect that going forward. As of recently, we've gotten a little more encouraging outlook on those things, and so we're hopeful that we can plan on having that funding going forward. Still don't have a definitive word on that yet, but that's something that's going to impact us. And then same thing on our special education federal funding. That's a pot of money is pretty fixed, but we've got payroll costs in there that are steadily growing. So wanting to make sure that we accommodate the things there. So we'll definitely be very, very mindful of that. And again, a lot of the school requests were, these are things I've done with Title I. We need these. We depend on these. If Title I goes away, these are the types of things we need to make happen. So those two bullets are kind of going to go hand in hand for a lot of the requests that we've got, for sure. And then the last one, which is always a priority for us, is employee compensation. We want to make sure that we can do the best for our employees and provide as much as we reasonably can, which of course goes a long way with recruiting and retaining quality staff in our district. So I know it's not a lot of numbers yet, but we kind of want to give you the outlook of where we're trying to shape this budget. So with that, I'll take any questions we may have.
We got anything?
Mr. Chairman, I just have a few. I need to see that Kate funding that you talked about earlier. Are you saying that's just gonna be shifted and reallocated, or is there a chance that we're gonna lose funding as a district?
So, of course, anytime money gets shuffled around, there's a very real chance of losing out. And we've seen that with our Tier 3 funding from Act 388. That funding has not kept up with the money that would have come in with owner-occupied residences. So that's a very real chance. The budget has it in place now with this reallocation that no district or multi-district career center would receive less than $250,000. So right now, our state CTE allocation is about $66,000, $67,000. So that'd be quite a shift for us and how we operate. But once you kind of isolate what that 0.2 would generate versus what we actually get, there's a real chance that we can do that. That'll be something we'll look at for sure to see how equitably that money gets redistributed, for sure.
So it won't impact this for next school year, but the next.
For 26, 27, this will go into effect if the House version of the state aid to classroom changes is what sticks. That's right.
So we don't know if we're gonna lose money or not in that area yet.
We'll have a good idea Wednesday.
Wednesday? Okay, good. And then the other question was on the federal funding, it's scary to think that we may lose money there too. On the federal funding, how much are we paying in salaries right now for federal funding?
It's a good portion of it. Nearly all of Title I is staff. Title II, we have a middle school math teacher there. Title IV, we had budgeted a portion of our stream teachers in there. And then that's really the ones that impact us. And IDEA, we've got a good many salaries there, large, really, I'd say over 90% of that one too. So it's heavily impacted by salaries and benefits for sure.
You have a ballpark number of how much in the salaries?
I'd say from a percentage standpoint, it's well over 90%. If I had to project, but in terms of the dollars and cents, I'd have to quantify that one for you because that's impacted by our allocations, which fluctuate a little bit. I could give you the dollars amount for sure.
And is there any federal funds that they're not looking at tightening, or is it all of them right now?
It hasn't been a whole lot of new information. I mean, I think the two that we're focused on back in the fall were Title II and Title IV. Title I don't think is going away. It's just getting reduced, and that's affected by our statewide poverty numbers, was what was delivered at the federal programs meeting last week. So 2 and 4 was the ones that are most in jeopardy, I think. But I think the latest information has been more encouraging than what it was during the government shutdown. Of course, that was that was as dire as I've ever heard it back in the fall, that it was all getting cut, but now that the dust has settled a little bit, I'm a little more optimistic that things are gonna stand pat, but I'm just not quite 100% confident enough to say for sure that we're keeping everything as is moving forward. I just wanted to prep you for that if we were to have some surprising developments in the next month or so. We are expecting some, hopefully by the end of this month, get a little more guidance from the State Department.
And if I could just add to that conversation, Ms. Arnold, I met with someone from Sherry Biggs' office a couple weeks ago, and she's assured me that federal funding is stable for us, especially since the move to shut down the Federal Department of Education is kind of over. And so while there may be some decreases based on poverty, the concern with it going away completely is the superintendents have been made to feel good that that's not going to happen.
There'll be no decrease, like Title I funds aren't looking
no.
at being decreased.
No, they did not guarantee they would not be decreased, but as far as being pulled completely, they're not going to be pulled completely. But as Mr. Moore said, some of that is based on the statewide poverty level as to how much we get. So if the poverty level decreases statewide, then the amount of money coming to us is going to decrease. Or if it increases statewide, it's going to increase.
It'd be good to have an amount of salaries that we pay out of that, because Title II and Title IV, that's just, I think, 200,000, but Title I,
Title I is like, our allocation is 866, if I'm not mistaken, 866,000. And to that point, we've been all but assured that our allocation is going to decrease next year in Title I, just as a sole result of the state as a whole getting less. So we are fully planning on that. But as far as the complete removal of federal funds I'm here to deliver the worst case news, and I know the threat was out there several months ago, so I don't want it to blindside anyone whenever we take a look at federal funding and making sure that we keep some of those programs and positions that we feel are needed, if we need to incorporate in the general fund budget.
and I appreciate that, because those positions would have to be moved to other funding if they no longer support the federal funds. And the only other question was on the budget impacts, the step increase for employees.
Yes, ma'am.
That doesn't include any type of, it's just a step. It's not the percent that sometimes we've given them in the past.
This is one additional step on our 25-26 salary schedules. So this does not factor in any increases or anything like that. We have not taken any looks at increase other than the bus driver increase. Let me rephrase that. We have not gone down the path of exploring cost of living increases for any positions yet. We didn't want to do that until we know what kind of revenue we're working with before we start going in that direction.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because I know it's sometimes on there, and
That's right.
that's good.
And if I just might add to, of course, again, we're building a budget without any plan for taking any of the operational millage that we can take as a part of a budget. And just to remind you all and everyone listening, we haven't taken that operational millage in 3 years and don't intend to do it again.
It's the 8 meals
The 8 mills
that we're eligible for.
that we're eligible for.
And if we lose federal funding, you're saying we wouldn't have to.
I would not suggest that, no. I think there's places we could take money to take care of that.
And if I may, the 8 mills is the most we could take. Our cap is actually the area growth, the CPI, Consumer Price Index, plus our local growth. So sometimes that limits you less than 8. So 8's only the maximum when those percentages allow for more. So 8's the absolute most you can take in those certain years, which we've had some years like that where the percentage has allowed for more. But right now we've got the Consumer Price Index number, I think it's about 2.63. So right now, as it stands, without the local growth, we're not at the 8 mills. So we shouldn't really say it. But we feel like the growth we've seen locally does not warrant, at least right now, the pursuit of a tax increase.
Good.
All right, thank you, Mr. Moore.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it very much. The next is our action items, and this is coming from our policy committee.
Yes.
Y'all wanna take it from here?
Yes, so the policy committee would like to recommend the policy EH, cybersecurity and information security awareness for the first reading tonight.
All right. Putting that in form of a motion.
That is a motion.
All right, we need a second. Any discussion on this?
I do have some discussion on it, and I thought that it may be easier if I just outlined, these are some things that I think between the first reading and the second reading that may be worth just taking into consideration. You know, policy, that guides what we do as a board, and that's what we go to when, you know, there's a situation that comes up and we need to know what are we supposed to do. That's our guiding principles. So as I was looking over and talking with different people on the board about the policy, there's just a couple of things I think we definitely should look at. I think that we need to make sure that in our administrative rule that we're defining financial fraud. It talks about financial fraud a little bit, but it kind of goes over it. Well, on the agenda, it included, you have the policy and you have the administrative rule on there.
There's two separate action items.
Next one's,
Okay.
I just didn't want to get confused because there's a policy action item and then there's the administrative rule action item.
Okay, so on the policy, the full board notification for cybersecurity incidents, I think that needs to be clearly defined. Post-incident cybersecurity reports to the board approval for high-risk exceptions, any type of risk, and just optional explicit notification for financial fraud. I think those things need to be addressed in the policy. You know, what happens, when's the board notified? And it may be something as simple as a statement, but I think that's something that we're missing in the policy. I think that the board should really look over that carefully. Like, when do you want to know if something's going on that is a breach in cybersecurity, whether that's fraud related or whether it's something else? When should the board be notified, and what does that look like? And what happens after notification?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, so this past Friday, I was at the School Board Association office down in Columbia and sat in on a session with Tim Larkin, who is the cybersecurity advisor for SLED, South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, and the South Carolina Critical Infrastructure Cybersecurity. They call it SEKIC. And man, he has some fantastic information. School districts are number one for cyber attacks. Number one target, and the number one victim. So that's the reason why I wanted to say this, because this policy is quite the scope is really big, and there's a lot of stuff going on there. Amy and her team, I think, have done fantastic on writing this right here, and I just want to say that how important that this policy is to make sure, you know, it's almost like we don't really have a target that we're shooting for. We kind of do a little bit, because we do have some instances, not just us, but across the state and across this nation, of things that have happened that we can try to drill down and make sure don't happen to us. But there's all kind of new stuff coming out all the time. Yes, it is. But I just want to say how important this policy is to make sure we keep this district covered, taken care of. And I just want to say thanks to Amy and her team for the amount of work they've done.
I think those are very good points. And, you know, one day we're not going to be on the board. There'll be other people on the board and the superintendent, and none of these things that I think we need to look at is to say that we don't have a well-written policy, but we do want to make sure that everything is covered. And unfortunately, cyber attacks, they're always a couple steps ahead of us, and we want to make sure that we're addressing everything that we need to in this, because one day That's it, we'll retire, and there'll be new board, new superintendent here. We just want to make sure everything's covered in the policy.
Mr. Chairman,
Sir.
I do agree that notification is extremely important. But I think we need to make sure we're doing a good job of defining what an incident is. I think we need to be notified and in the loop, but I don't need to know when everybody resets their password.
No,
Understand.
absolutely
Yes, sir.
not.
So, define what is an incident, and then I would just kind of ask, I guess, the policy committee to think about, there's a little bit of financial fraud that's in the cybersecurity policy. Would it be better to separate that and put the financial fraud sections in our financial policies? And I don't know, I'm not recommending anything, I'm just posing the question, would it be a better place to house those, how we deal with fraud, and even if it is a cyber attack that results in financial loss, our financial policies should deal with that, right?
That's right.
That's a very good point, because when I'm looking at, in there, it mentions fraud, but it doesn't clearly define it. And so it may be that needs to be a separate policy by itself and come out of there altogether. But if it stays in there, we definitely need to address it. If we take it out, then a policy needs to be written on it. We definitely need a policy.
And I have a draft policy of a general fraud policy that I've been studying from other districts that would it would cover areas other than this, but would also include this. I was just trying to get the cyber policy in place because that seemed to be the first thing you all wanted to do.
Could we go ahead and pass this on first reading, and then y'all take a look at it as a committee before the next meeting? Would that be fine?
I'm good with that, as long as we, go back and revisit and y'all look
And
over.
it may be that you need to meet with Amy. I mean, that, I know we need to mention fraud in this policy, but it may be that we need to pull something out a little stronger just to address it, because everybody's susceptible to fraud this day and time.
I agree. That's a good plan.
All right, have we got any other discussion on this? All right. All in favor? 5 on first reading. All right. You want the next one, then?
So the next one, the Administrative Rule E8 Cybersecurity and Information Security Awareness on the first reading, the Policy Committee wants to recommend that also.
All right. Need a second. All right. All right. Anybody got any discussion on this one? All right.
Mr. Chairman, you know I do.
I know you do.
You know I do. There's some things in there that I think we need to make sure that we address. Probably the most priority is if we're gonna leave fraud in there, it needs to be defined. Now, right now, if you look at the response plan, that's an appendix item on there, it talks about ransomware, data breach, compromised account, but what it does not list is financial fraud. It doesn't say anything about fraudulent vendor payment, business email compromise, or wire transfer fraud. Those things, if we're gonna leave fraud in there, those things need to be addressed, at least in the administrative rule, and then the policy should reflect that information as well. Also, again, superintendent must notify the board of any confirmed or suspected cybersecurity incident. Now, it says in there, board will be notified, but what it doesn't include is details such as scope, systems affected, mitigation actions, potential risk, and recovery status. Like, when does the board get notified of where we're at in that? Once we've been notified that there was a threat, what does that look like in the months to come? I think that's important. And then if there's ever an exception, if there's a high-risk exception that is granted for whatever that reason is, I think the board needs to be made aware of that as well. That's all.
Anybody else got anything they want to add to this?
And I do want to thank Ms. Gray for working hard on it, and Ms. Hip, you know, for the two of them working together on it. It's, appreciate that. I know a lot has went into it for both of y'all.
Well, it's sad in today's time, we have to address stuff like this and make a policy, I mean, it really is. But that's where we're at. All right, all in favor? 5-0 on first reading. All righty. Next, go ahead.
I will call your attention to this appendix item. I think it fits in well here, and while I understand that these things need to be well defined in policy, I think we have many procedures and processes that do speak to these. And so, so I wanted to share with you tonight Anderson 3 security scorecard that I think is kind of representative of that, because Skisbit, our school board's insurance trust, offered to us some cybersecurity resources. And so what Amy did and her staff is they've run this security scorecard assessment several times. And the latest one, it shows on our scorecard 100. When you look at the threat indicators, and these are some of the indicators you all pointed out, and then on the pie chart to the side, it shows how we rate compared to the industry average. So I think this is a testament that Amy and her staff are doing an outstanding job addressing these things in our procedures, and we'll be glad to add them to policies, but I feel confident to say that we have these things in place that you're referencing. And I think this scorecard demonstrates that.
Let me be clear. I think our technology department is doing an excellent job, and I think Ms. Gray leading that is excellent. But I believe as board members, that is we have to have due diligence in making sure that we're reading the policy, that we're putting in place, that we're looking into the administrative rule to make sure that everything is covered. But we're not, I know for me, I'm by no means saying that that's not being done. I want to make sure that it's done. I feel like that's our responsibility to the taxpayers.
The other reminder is just everybody's ethics report is due March the 30th. So make sure you do that report online if you have not.
Already done.
I'll do it for you.
Done, thank the good Lord. All right, we now need to enter an executive session for a personnel matter, also a contractual matter.
Second.
All in favor? 5-0. Thank all y'all for coming. Appreciate everything you do. On the vote,
I guess you could repeat it, because I technically, I think we're probably supposed to do it after you.
Okay, I'll do that. I make a motion to come out of executive session.
Second.
all in favor? 5-0. All right,
Mr. Chairman, make a motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent to approve certified candidates A and B for employment in the 26-27 school year.
need a second.
Second.
Any further discussion on this? Hearing none, call for a vote. All in favor? 5-0.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the board accept the recommendation of superintendent to approve the reemployment of certified personnel at the designated contract level for 26-27 school year as presented.
Second.
Any further discussion on these? Hearing none, all in favor? 5-0.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? 5-0. Thank y'all. Very good meeting. Been a long time since I had a RC and a moon pie. Huh? I used to drink them all the time.